What is a scary, unsettling fact about you? I killed someone in self-defense, went through the entire court process with his family sobbing hysterically and never felt a single emotion about it, and I'm a pretty emotional guy. This is a weird one, but I promise you, no bullshit. I had a metal screw/bolt roughly an inch and a half long stuck in my right lung from age 2 to 17. I must have put it in my mouth as a toddler and it got there somehow. Anyway, the unsettling bit is that I always knew there was something seriously wrong with my body, because my whole life I would have instances in which I coughed uncontrollably, many times coughing up blood. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. But I never told anyone. Dad was neglectful and Mom was always working, so it was relatively easy to hide. No one ever showed concern those 15 years, so I guess I kept it to myself well enough. I never told anyone, because even as a small child I was very unhappy with life and wanted it to be over. I guess I figured my mystery illness would get me eventually, so I kept it a secret so I wouldn't get treated. It all came to a head at 17 when playing ball at the park with my parents, siblings, and some friends. I got a decent hit and ran around the bases when I started coughing. So my step-uncle noticed after a minute or two, everyone is crowded around me while I'm coughing up a shitload of blood in and around a trash can. My little brother told me after that they actually sent guys in hazmat suits to clean it up because they didn't know if whatever was wrong with me was contagious. But anyway, got to the hospital, got the x-ray which showed the screw lit up like Christmas imposed over my rib cage. Dr. Guy just went, "Well, there's your problem." I guess he was trying to lighten the mood since everyone was understandably freaking the fuck out. 2 weeks of surgery, 3 total, and it was out. I made the screw into a necklace which I wear sometimes because I find it oddly comforting to be reminded of my own mortality. I know that's weird, but it's just sort of how I am all things considered. I never told my family I knew there was something wrong with me, because telling them would mean admitting to them that I wanted to die the whole time. I still struggle with mental health crap for this and many other reasons I won't get into, but things are a lot easier than they used to be. But anyway, if you actually took the time to read about my weird little life, I appreciate your time and hope your day is pleasant. Edit. Fixed some typos. A few asked for a picture, so here you are. Yes, it was that shiny when it came out too. Stainless steel is properly named apparently. https://imager.com/a/wwc of 5s. Edit 2. Hey, thanks for the awards. They are neato. I have to go to bed for a bit before work, but if you all continue asking questions I'll try to get to them later. Take care of yourselves, and give someone you care about a hug for me. Edit 3. It's okay if some of you don't believe me. I have no reason to lie to you, but I get how unbelievable my story is. I will think about sharing a photo of the shoulder scar, but I'm not promising anything. Not sure if it's scary? But my dad OD'd on heroin and died. I probably could have saved him. I went downstairs at like 1 a.m. to get a drink and saw the bathroom door closed with the light on. I thought about pounding on the door to scare him, which is something I would do to mess with him. I walked up to the door, went to knock on it, but thought to myself, nah, don't mess with him. And I walked away. A third of my body is covered in burn scars. When I was 15, I was in a forest area near my school with several friends. We would go here often after school to talk and hang out before going home for supper. It was also common for us on colder days to start a small fire to keep warm. Netherlands is a very wet country, so there is rarely a fear of a fire getting out of hand. However, the boys are another story. Boys always act dumb around fire. One time when we were in the woods, a boy who had been playing with the fire had lit a stick and was walking around with it like a torch. This also caught my jacket and hair and skirt on fire, as well as the backpack began to melt from the fire and drip onto my cloths. Everyone panicked and by instinct I ran back to the school. Running only made the fire worse. I was seen by an adult, a teacher I think, and I was put on the ground and the fire was put out. But much damage had been done already. I was taken towards the hospital and the school called my parents. Much of my hair on one side of my head was burned away, but because hair burns quickly there was little damage to my face, more like a bad sunburn, except for on my neck and along my jawbone where my jacket and backpack burned. My legs were mostly okay too, as the skirt I was wearing was wool and did not burn easily and was away from my legs. My right arm and body were not as well off. I was in hospital for many weeks and had many surgeries over the span of my life to help the skin grow and to graft skin from my legs onto parts of my chest and underarm that were the most damaged. If I wear jeans and a long sleeve shirt you cannot tell that I have any scars other than the line of scars that go up my neck on one side. I have unusually good night vision, extra cone/rods, I forget which is for low light, which means I walk around in what other people consider complete darkness, able to see just fine. Sometimes I think I have memories of being sexually molested or exploited as a young child. But I can't ever be sure if the memories are real, and I wouldn't dare ask anyone. Edit. I am shocked and horrified at how many others have similar experiences/suspicions. but the amount of people that feel comfort in knowing they aren't alone has made sharing this post worth it. Growing up, I had a recurring nightmare set in my grandparents' backyard looking at the back of their house. There was just something off about the house. Something mildly sinister. I dreamt this over and over, many times over the years. In 2018, my dad, who now owned the house, went into the backyard to that spot and killed himself. I pooped in my neighbor's backyard when I was 8 years old. Just gargoyled under his jungle gym and let loose. A random guy in a bar bit part of my ear off. Here is my ear, for all the curious people, https:// imager.com/kjt5c6u. I've ripped a man's ear off with my teeth. I can ignore being tickled. I had 6 toes on each foot at birth and got them cut off. You can see the place they cut them at. From ages 6 to 14, I spent all of my time in a pitch black, cold, and locked basement, only leaving for school and never letting anyone, outside the family, know. I constantly think about leaving my current life behind and just living alone somewhere remote where no one knows I exist. I was the one who pushed over the Faygo vending machine at the IGA in 2006. I have an enlarged aortic root. It's very unlikely, but it could spontaneously rupture, leading to the medical term adjust glasses. Instantaneous death. I would pass out, bleed to death, and then fall over. Dead before hitting the ground. And it could happen at any time. I'm an alcoholic, gotten so bad to the point I was in jail and I was admitted into a psych ward once. My drinking life was wild and destructive. Decided I've had enough. I do not actually remember a decent chunk of my life. Whenever I talk about most of my childhood, I use words that leave room for mistakes and am generally using memories and ideas I've compiled from hearing other people say things about me. I honestly barely know myself. I have 2 lenses in my right eye, so it focuses like binoculars. My doctor wrote a paper about it. Mostly blinded as a baby in my left eye. Doctor suspected my right lens split, then healed as 2 distinct lenses. Since I was very young, age 9 or 10 I think, I've had thoughts that I was going to die young. The older I got, the age 24 just kept reoccurring. I'll be 24 in a few months. I have appointments for neurologists for a suspected brain tumor coming up. I had my appendix removed in England. So part of me is in Canada right now and another part of me is in England. I've considered suicide far more than my wife knows. Was once a serious option in my life when things got hard and I felt trapped. Sometimes it's just a casual thought. I'm also a very light fun person in social situations, always trying to make people laugh. But I'm actually really depressed and can't stand myself a lot of the time. Edit 3, thank you all for your kind words of encouragement. I hope we can all make it through whatever dark times we may find ourselves in. Edit 2, I have been to therapy and have been on meds in the past. In between therapists right now due to an insurance change. Edit, added more info. Not really scary or unsettling, but I do end up having to explain without trying getting into details to people why. I refuse to drink from any kind of retail item that is not translucent. For example, soda/beer cans, milk/OJ cartons, etc. People's curiosity compels them to ask me why when I tell them to let it be, and assuredly enough they never like the answer. I inherited a lot of money from my grandmother about 2 years ago that no one in my family knew existed. I still don't know where it came from, her lawyer wouldn't tell me, but it's in the upper 7 figures. My father, her son, got the flat she owned and we all thought that was everything she had. Apparently it wasn't, but I haven't told anyone about it and I don't plan on doing so either. I just work a normal 8 to 5 desk job, rent a flat downtown of the city I live in, nothing expensive, and live a normal life on my own. I just don't feel comfortable sharing this secret, and the longer I keep it the stranger it would get telling it. TLDR, I'm a millionaire because my grandmother died and no one knows about it. Edit, I'm trying to answer to as many people as possible, but as I said I still have a normal job, so here are the answers to the most asked questions/suggestions. 1. What do you want to do with the money? I don't know yet, for now it's safe where it is and I will either use it or invest it once I think it's time. Maybe in a week, maybe never. 2. I also don't really care about your tragic stories in my DMs, I read them and just get depressed, so please don't. 3. Can I be in your life? No, I also don't want to adopt you/get to know you or be in a relationship with you, except for big titty goth GFS. 4. You have to invest in Bitcoin/real estate/stocks/your friendly neighborhood pyramid scheme. No, fuck off. I know most of you are genuine, nice people, but I don't want your advice. If this makes me sound like a douche, I'm fine with that, it's just a lot right now. My grandfather was murdered on the res by a skinhead dude who serial murdered native people and dropped them in the wilderness. It took them years to catch him. I was at his execution in another state. He deserved worse than falling asleep peacefully. I was a child mule in Detroit for 3 years. I made more money in 3 years than most people will see in a decade. I did some pretty scary stuff that I won't get into here that was under coercion. I'm not proud of it. It's scary what I've seen dudes do over money. I bought my mom a house because her husband was on oxys and gambled her life savings. Made sure my brother and sisters ate. No questions, no answers. I dipped when stuff got real pressured and scary for me to be promoted. I killed a man outside a bar in the defense of another person. The whole bar saw him drag his girlfriend out by the arm and no one called police or followed. I was just there for dinner and not drinking. I had a legal piece in the car. I holstered up and went looking. Heard screaming from behind a gated dumpster. She was begging. His pants were down. I yelled at him to freeze. I yelled at him to lay down. He pulled his pants up and he had a knife in his hand. The girl was bleeding. Broke my pistol down, put it on the pavement and called for the cops and an ambulance. Got arrested but she testified and he was on camera charging me with a big fucking boot knife. I didn't get charged because she was stabbed, bleeding, being assaulted, and he charged at me with a deadly weapon. I still think about it sometimes. I don't regret it. That was about 10 years ago. My wife and I got married 9 years ago. I've never told her. As far as she knows, I have a close female friend that lives in Alabama. It's not something that comes up in casual conversation. BTW new girlfriend, I killed a dude. Nah lol. I went to therapy and stayed quiet. That girl emails me every once in a while. She's healed, married, and happy. I visited her in the hospital for a while till her parents got here from Alabama. I went to her wedding a couple years ago. It was beautiful. Nice dude. I don't bother her. Her parents tried to give me some money but I felt really fucking greasy about taking it so I didn't. Kinda wish I had lately haha, but still glad I didn't. No one knows I'm on Reddit or I genuinely wouldn't say any of this here. I said it in some random group chats during therapy to get it out and haven't really mentioned it until now honestly. I appreciate the platform lol. I'm heavily addicted to opioids and have been for nearly a decade. Absolutely nobody in my life knows. When I go without them and have withdrawals, I think about ending it all. I don't even do them for the high, I have legitimate pain and they help massively. I talk with myself. Not the usual you can do it type of shit. Literally act like I am two people that are having a conversation. I called him G. This thread is wild. Slept in my mom's bed until I was 12 years old. Everyone believed I was just a mama's boy, including myself. It was actually because I shared a bedroom with my brother who molested me. Got E. coli poisoning at age 3 and was about to die, slept for 3 whole ass days after 8 days of bleeding in and out and operations and such. Fact ain't really scary or nothing, but I can never get E. coli poisoning again, I'm immune. My dog and my mother died in the same year. I was so devastated when my dog passed. That kind of pain didn't even touch the pain of losing my mom. Partially because she had given up on me and life years before she died. She drank herself to death and got sepsis. My dad killed himself in 02. I'm 38 now. I miss them. I miss my dog more. She was always there for me, through so much illness and loneliness and pain. She was my best friend. RIP. Edit, I thought my comment might be a little relatable but I had no idea. I'm so sorry for all of your losses and thank you for sharing your stories. They are 2 of the goofiest little dudes with 1 in a million personalities just like their sister. One of my testicles tried to murder me. I have a tendency to self-isolate, and it's damaged very long-term friendships because people don't understand that it's not them it's me and that I really mean no harm or have any ill feelings towards them, I just kinda want to recede into my own mind. I'm slowly leaving society and don't plan to tell anyone. I purchased a small piece of property, 1 small cabin in which I'll live and a second that has been remodeled for use as a rental to subsidize my income. I have 2 years plus / of work left and have no intention of telling them either. My parents are both dead and my brother has been estranged for 2 decades. When I hit my monetary goal in a couple years, I'm just not showing up for life anymore. I've deleted all socials aside from Reddit as I use it for news and information to stay current until I leave the grid. I plan to take a laptop to communicate with the rental agency and any issues with renters that may arise as I plan to act as the caretaker of said rental. TLDR, I'm walking away from it all. Work, friends, any and all obligations. The world tires me and I see no point in continuing to be part of it on any real scale. When I was 11 I witnessed my stepdad attack my mom. I was in my room and heard my mom yell / scream, so I left my room to see what happened. When I stepped into the hallway I could see partly into the kitchen and she was standing with her back up against the corner of the countertop with a terrible look on her face and a swelling cheek. My stepdad was about 5 feet away with 3 long bleeding scratches down his cheek from where she retaliated. I guess I didn't know how to react so I just turned around and went back to my room. That weekend I spent Friday night at my best friend's house. 38 Chief's special revolver in a hidden drawer he had built under his waterbed frame. Before I left I stuffed the gun into my rolled up sleeping bag. I chickened out that first night, Saturday, but Sunday night, around 2 to 3 a.m. I think, I took the revolver into their room and woke him up by jamming it under his chin. He woke up immediately and kind of reactively had pulled his head back away from the barrel. I pushed it harder into his throat and said something like, "Don't ever hurt my mom again or I'll kill you." I don't remember exactly what I said. I don't remember anything after saying that to him until I was back in my room. I dropped the gun on the floor and burst into the hardest sobbing I have ever experienced. Seemed like it lasted for hours. I don't know how long I actually cried, but when I finally stopped I was drenched in sweat/tears down my entire front side. I put the gun in my backpack and snuck it back into that drawer under the waterbed 2 or 3 days later, the next time I was at my friend's house. Not a word was ever said about what I did by me or my stepdad, but as far as I know he never touched my mom again. I ran into my friend's brother at a bar about 10 years later and I told him about borrowing his gun thinking he would just laugh it off as me telling drunk bar lies. He did not. He belly-eyed me completely, even stated that sometimes when I was at their house I would make little comments that his family understood to mean that my home life wasn't great. He's a big biker type guy, and he just grabbed me, pulling me off the bar stool, and hugged me for like 5 straight minutes. He was a great dude. This all sounds overdramatic after reading it back to myself, but it's written exactly as I remember it. Thanks for the chance to share this. My friend's brother and my stepdad were the only others who knew about it. I had to film a very terrible and completely unironic gangsta rap music video for my cousin and his school friends. I was emotionally abused by my dad. He died of cancer around 6 years ago, and I felt nothing. I felt bad that he was in so much pain. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I just remember waking up the day after he died and feeling so oddly at peace when there was no one yelling at me in my doorway. I'm one of the lucky few with the CCR5 Delta 32 mutation. Why is that relevant? It makes me immune to HIV and a handful of other pathogens, most notably the bubonic plague. EDA, a user replied to me with a link to a laboratory that claims to do CCR5 mutation testing. Do not click that link. It leads to a suspicious web page that claims they will test you for CCR5 and a host of other genetic mutations for $200. The supposed laboratory is not registered with Health Canada, I checked, and they have no internet history beyond their own website. If you want CCR5 testing, please seek the medical advice of your doctor and do not trust websites that claim they can test you for it. I have seen some gnarly shit in my life. Aftermath of car accidents, VBED, IED, what your face looks like after you accidentally bite down on a blasting cap, etc. Pretty much any way a body can be mutilated, I've seen it firsthand or had to sit through briefings on it. You might be surprised that I look like a happy-go-lucky, long-haired, mustachioed hippie that enjoys playing Magic the Gathering, and you would never know that sometimes when I look at people I have involuntary, sometimes terrifying, and intrusive thoughts imagining that they look like walking corpses. I also like pineapple on pizza. Edit, so the blasting cap story is hard to pin down. In other sources, especially those that go through medic school, CLS, and other additional schoolhouse training, it was a Marine biting down on a blasting cap either in a demonstration or because they were being stupid. While I'd never personally seen that particular event in real life, the images we were shown of that gentleman being treated were grotesque. I sometimes smile and laugh at tragic news/events, especially if I see someone else crying and/or is the bearer of bad news. I don't know if scary, unsettling quite fits here, but if I met you 3 years ago and then haven't seen you since then, I will remember your name and several random things you told me. I've had to learn to play dumb and act like I don't remember certain things, because it creeps people the fuck out and gives off a stalkery vibe. I went to a GP in agonizing pain. I vomited around 20 to 30 times consecutively on their restroom floor. I was told it was a UTI. Recovered a little. Next day was in more pain, and after seeing a couple doctors, I was rushed to hospital for emergency operation on a testicular torsion. I ended up losing one testicle. Spent the night there before returning home. One day later I met the love of my life and never looked back since. I have no will to live and I'm only still here so I don't upset my family and friends. That I woke up in the middle of surgery and threw a mayo pen at a nurse before they pinned me back down and upped my dosage of sedatives. Keynote still had retractors in, so I briefly looked like a dead space enemy. Have spotty memory of it. Sedation is very hit and miss with me. Has happened 3 times. If I don't take my pills I'll end up killing myself. My father hit me, sometimes closed fist. He even pointed a gun at my sister and I and threatened to pull the trigger if my mom left him. He's also a drug addict. That's not the scary thing about me though. The scary thing about me is that my father is in me and can come out. People think I'm a really nice person and I really try to be a good person, but when I get angry, Like really angry, he can come out. This is why I don't drink or do drugs, I have to stay on top of it. I have the belt that my father liked to hit us with, he wanted me to have it for some reason. Edit, I made this comment and didn't think about Reddit again until almost a day later and saw it blew up. Thank you to everyone who wished me well.